What is up, my Peter Bros? Maine-iac here with our first playoff prediction. And what we are doing this year is we're not going to predict all the way through. We're just going to go round by round, which obviously means 4 game picks this week, next week, then 2, then 1. Now, we got some really, really good matchups, but I'll start this with a fun fact. Fun fact number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles, I believe, are the only 9-win team in the playoffs this year. If I'm not mistaken, if I am, I do apologize. But that shows that these are a lot of solid teams, and even the Eagles are extremely solid, evidenced by their 88 overall Madden rating. We start with the Indianapolis Colts at the Houston Texans. This game promises to be a great one, and what do I mean by that is every time there's a divisional game, that's usually obviously third meeting between the two teams in the same year, it always brings something different that the other two did not have. Now, one thing that concerns me in this matchup for the Houston Texans is they don't really have a dominant number 2 wide receiver like they had with Will Fuller and Demaryius Thomas. But DeAndre Hopkins can create enough separation in the Colts secondary. If I had to pick a weakness for them, probably would be the weakness of their defense. So whether DeAndre Hopkins gets going or not is going to really depend on how Lamar Miller can handle the rush defense of the Colts. If Lamar Miller and Deshaun Watson can create enough space with having a consistent run game, it should open up some opportunities for DeAndre Hopkins and vice versa. One thing I'm looking forward to for the Colts is Marlon Mack and Eric Ebron. These are two people I believe that are going to have to show up huge for Indianapolis. And what I mean by that is Ebron can't have more than a single drop in this one if Indy wants to win. Mainly because I believe that if he has more than one drop, they're going to come on third down. They're going to come when they need to convert. They're going to come when they're behind, because that's usually when he tends to drop them, or at least from when I have watched him play. Which, as a Patriots fan, I don't get to watch the Colts too often. I like Andrew Luck in this matchup. One thing I like about it, given that he's facing Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt, which is never an easy matchup, is the Colts' offensive line has performed tremendously this year. Quentin Nelson has been a great find as a rookie. He has had a tremendous season. And I think that will open up some holes for Marlon Mack to get some yards, open up some opportunities for T.Y. Hilton, and Andrew Luck should have a good game. Now, as you can see here, Madden says, can Houston slow down Indy's offense? Chances are it will be close. 9 of their last 10 meetings were decided by 1 score. And that brings me on to my last point. I think this will be a kind of a last possession game. Whoever's behind probably will have the ball, and it will be up to either defense to stop them. Darius Leonard should have a really good game here. The difference maker here for me, personally, is consistency. I love consistency. I think I'm going to go with the Colts here. One reason why I'm going with the Colts over the Texans, and I'll say this before, is as a passer, as a passing quarterback, I trust Andrew Luck more than I do necessarily Deshaun Watson. I believe Deshaun Watson will create opportunities and will get his goes or his shots. But when you combine it with the head coach, now that's vital because play calling is crucial. I don't trust Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien is a fresh hunk of dog turd when it comes to the playoffs. And I don't mean that to be rude, but he's kind of choked away some games, especially the game against the Patriots when the Texans dominated Brady on defense, absolutely dominated him, and they allowed, I believe, a punt return touchdown by Dion Lewis and something else like a kick return touchdown by Dion Lewis. It was awful. So I think head coaching combined play calling with Andrew Luck gives the Colts a slight edge. I honestly think this is going to be a 3-point game, maybe a 2-point game. It's going to be so close. You got the Seahawks at the Cowboys. This one promises to be a really good one, just because the Dallas Cowboys have a tremendous defense, and the Seahawks have a really unique offense. And what I mean by that is usually Russell Wilson dominates the yardage totals, dominates every play. but they got Chris Carson who can really step up if needed. They got young wide receivers who they're so fluid between like 3 and 5 on who's going to show up, who's going to make big plays. It's kind of a amoeba of an offense, and I really like that about the Seattle offense. The Seattle defense is also very, very good as well. I think, honestly, that's why I love all these matchups. It's almost like strength v strength in a way. One thing the Seahawks are probably going to struggle with is stopping Ezekiel Elliott consistently. If Ezekiel Elliott even gashes them a couple times, that might be enough to give the Cowboys the edge. I'm actually picking the Cowboys in this one now. Originally, I had the Seahawks slated for victory, but I'm picking the Cowboys mainly because of their defense. Leighton Vander Esch should have a tremendous game. I hope he does. It's fun seeing rookies show up in the postseason, so I'm looking for Leighton Vander Esch to have a good game. I'm also looking for Zeke to control the pace of the clock here. If the Cowboys can get out to an early lead, I think Ezekiel will get probably 25 to 30 carries and maybe a few catches thrown in. But I think they control the tempo. I think the defense stops the run game from the Seattle Seahawks and creates enough of an issue where the Cowboys win by 5. If I had to pick, I would pick a final score of 28 to 23 or 29 to 24, somewhere around there. And then in the other AFC wildcard game, we have the Chargers at the Ravens. What I like about this one, because if you listen to what I said earlier, I picked the Colts. If the Colts win, they go off to Kansas City, which means the winner of this one would go in to New England to face my Patriots, which is one reason why I'm going to be so invested in this game when it's on, depending on how the Colts game goes. Because if the Texans win, we face them, and then the winner of this faces the Chiefs. It's exciting. Now, the Chargers, I think, have an overall talent advantage. One thing that hurts them tremendously in this matchup is the health issues of Brendan Meebane's daughter. I believe she's having heart complications. All health wishes, good wishes, well wishes go out to them. Families first, always, always family first when it comes to sports. You're only going to be playing this game for maybe 10, 15 years, but you're going to have your family for the rest of your life. So, hopefully they get healthy, but it's a big hole in that rushing defense, or the rush defense for the Chargers, mainly because the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson can run better than most running backs in this league. He is quick. It's not even that he's just quick or that he's fast, it's that he accelerates so quickly. He can go from 0 to 100 in about 0.2 seconds, or at least that's what it looks like when he runs. He's very shifty, very maneuverable, can create missed tackles, and that's going to be a challenge for the Chargers defense. Personally, I don't want the Ravens to win, mainly because I know the Ravens are always a tough go, home or on the road. They are always a tough fight for any team they face. But I kind of want that challenge as well. It's just that personally, I know my team struggles against a mobile quarterback, so I don't really want the mobile quarterback of Lamar Jackson. I'm explaining my process as a fan as well, so hopefully you don't mind. Lamar Jackson should have a really good game in this one. I also look for Crabtree to step up at wide receiver for the Ravens, but let's be honest here. This matchup's all about the Ravens defense versus the Chargers offense. Can Phillip Rivers manage enough points in this one to win? I think, in all honesty, but an unbiased opinion here, I think the Chargers win this one. I think the major difference maker here is Hunter Henry, if he can go, is going to create matchup problems for Baltimore defense because he is a severely athletic tight end. He is, I think, really good. When he's on and when he's completely healthy, he's one of the better tight ends in the league. I think Melvin Gordon being healthier now presents other opportunities as well for the Chargers offense. I'm looking for Keenan Allen to keep his mouth shut on possible flags this time around. It should be good. I think, honestly, just like the other two, I think it will be a single score game. I think it comes down to the Ravens having the ball last and not being able to score a touchdown to win. I think the Chargers win this one by 4. If I had to pick a score, I would say 31-27. Then we have the Eagles at the Bears. Eagles, very, very, very solid team. And I will say this time and time again, so people know I'm not underestimating them when I say this. But Nick Foles, he is magic. He should have the nickname of the Philadelphia Genie because he orchestrates some of the most bizarre shit I have ever seen in my life. He's honestly, as a football fan, Nick Foles is not that great. He played supremely well his first stint in Philly, kind of chased Sam Bradford out of town. Then he got chased out of town himself, went to St. Louis, where Jeff Fisher kind of almost made him quit football. And he came back, and he's had these stretch runs. But something tells me that this magic might wear off, and mainly because, obviously, the Eagles know how good Foles is from the last year's playoffs. Foles won the Super Bowl MVP. That is not to be underestimated. But for some reason, they thought Carson Wentz coming off an ACL injury was still better than Nick Foles. And why would a team that knows Nick Foles as intimately as the Eagles do that? Granted, yes, you want to play Carson Wentz, but wouldn't you want him to kind of get completely healthy first? I mean, I know they didn't start Wentz week 1, but Foles, I think he runs out. I think the magic runs out. It's not, the Cinderella tale is not over. Foles will get a starting opportunity somewhere. I think this comes down to the Chicago Bears defense. And yes, that means Khalil Mack. And this is a matchup that if any football fan should be excited to watch. And I'm saying that with all honesty. The Chicago Bears pass rush of Khalil Mack, Raquan Smith at linebacker and such against the Eagles offensive line is an absolutely incredible matchup for me. If the Eagles line plays as inconsistently as they have previously this year, they're going to be in trouble. I think the Chicago Bears provide enough pressure, force a couple turnovers, maybe get a defensive score, but sadly that also means that the Eagles defense, which is no slouch either, Fletcher Cox, an incredible monster, along with Malcolm Jenkins in the secondary, are gonna provide serious issues for the Chicago Bears offense. Jordan Howard, Tariq Cohen, and Mitch Trubisky might not stand a chance in this one of scoring multiple touchdowns. I think the difference maker on offense for the Chicago Bears and who's going to get them enough scores or at least enough yards to win is going to be Trey Burton if he is 100%. Mitch Trubisky, I believe, does just enough. And like I said, I think the Chicago Bears defense gets a score, gets a few turnovers, maybe gets them in field goal range without them having to move the ball much, and I think that's the difference maker here in this one. I think, honestly, this is going to be a low-scoring game. I actually have this one 17-14, possibly a little different, because I know that Jake Elliott kid from Philly could kick a 65-yard field goal at the end of the game if they needed him to, because he is a great kicker. It could come down to him. Actually, if Philadelphia is going to pull off the upset here, leave it to Jake Elliott. I think he's going to be the key to that. So, to review my picks, I have the two lower seeds in the AFC, the Indianapolis Colts and the Chargers winning, which would make it Indianapolis going to Kansas City next week to face the Chiefs, and that would also make it LA Chargers to the New England Patriots, which would be reminiscent of, I believe, like the 2006 season, somewhere around there when LT was playing for the Chargers. And then you have the Seattle Seahawks versus the Dallas Cowboys, where I picked the Cowboys to win, vaulting them to the number 2 seed LA Rams next week, which would be an incredible matchup. And picking the Eagles over the... No, never mind. I got my seedings mixed up. I do apologize. If the Eagles do lose, like I predict, the number 3 seed Chicago Bears... I don't know why I got the seeds mixed up. The records are right there. The number 3 seed Chicago Bears would face the LA Rams, and that would be a tremendous matchup because obviously the Bears defense is good enough to shut down anybody. But can Trubisky do anything against LA? They had actually a battle, I believe, earlier this year where they combined for 7 interceptions, Goff and Mitch Trubisky, so it should be interesting. And that would send Dallas to New Orleans, which I believe the New Orleans Saints and Dallas Cowboys would also be a tremendous game, a redo, I should say, of the 13-10 victory that the Dallas Cowboys had prior. Granted, there was some questionable officiating, but games like that are always fun. So, if I'm right, like I said, next week will be Kansas City versus Indianapolis, New England versus the LA Chargers. It would be New Orleans versus the Dallas Cowboys, and it would be LA versus Chicago Bears, which would be 4 really, really good matchups. Granted, no matter who wins these games, let's say it's the other way around, even if it's New England versus the Houston Texans, Kansas City versus Baltimore, Seattle Seahawks versus the LA Rams, or the Philadelphia Eagles versus New Orleans Saints, any of those matchups promises to be a really good matchup. So this honestly looks like the most even postseason I've seen in a long time, where any of these 12 teams realistically have a chance at the Super Bowl. It's going to be fun. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoy. Let me know what your playoff predictions are down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.